Okay, in this video, we're going to set up and show you how to put a foundation underneath of a garage, actually how to put a garage on a house. If you actually go ahead and open up the Foundation Exam House completed student start file, you'll see that you have a house without a foundation for the house or for the garage. This video will take you through how to work through the garage foundation. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead first and go ahead and open up the drawings and take a look at the floor plan for the foundation to see just how large this garage is. It looks like it's going to be 30 feet by 25 feet coming off the front of the house here 5 feet. So we'll go back here to Revit and go to my first floor drawing. In fact, let's go back. Let's actually set up a few things. Go to my my north elevation here, and I'm going to start setting up some levels. You need some levels here for my garage, and I'm going to have to start drawing my walls out at these different levels also. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my architecture tab, grab my level tool, and we'll go ahead and start pulling some levels across. And I'm pulling them out this far because my garage is going to end up working into this space here. So one of the first things I need to do, this level 9 that was placed, we go ahead and set this up to become the TO foundation. This will be the top of the foundation wall, and then this one is going to get up to be the bottom of the garage foundation. Okay, and the foundation wall itself, I'll go ahead and just dimension from the bottom of the walls of the house to that TO foundation, and then I'll select that and highlight the dimension. This is going to end up moving that foundation level for me. That's going to be 1 foot, and it's going to be 1.5 inches. So my floor system will be a foot thick, and then the 1.5 inches is the sill plate spacing. Then I'm going to go ahead and set up our dimensioning here for from the top of the foundation down to the bottom of the garage foundation. This is actually going to take into consideration the floor system to the top of the foundation, and then top of the foundation down to the footer. That's the 36 inches for frost, and then also an additional 6 inches for grade, which will come down from the top of the foundation wall. So we'll go ahead and put in here 3 feet 6 inches, 36 for frost from the grade, and then 6 inches for grade to come down off the foundation, top of the foundation wall. We'll see that in a little bit. So as we set this up, we have bottom of garage foundation, top of garage. We're all set. I can just take these and get these out of my way for now. And now I can go ahead and go up to TO foundation, and we can start drawing in. Okay, so first floor, we're going to go ahead and grab my wall tool and I come over here at basic 2x6 wall. Coming down, you got to make sure it says location line, there's wall center line. We're going to go ahead and set this up to be face of core exterior. Base constraint right now is going to be based off of first floor, and the top is going to get based off of the TO first floor walls. And now I'm just going to rough this in. I'm not going to be too terribly concerned with my dimensions yet, and I'm not even going to attach this wall yet. I'm going to let that run short. Now I'm going to go ahead and start looking at some information and say, okay, that wall is correctly drawn. I have siding on the outside, sheeting, and now I can say, okay, let's go ahead and take and just drag this over, making sure things are going to align perfectly. And they did. So that worked up. And now we'll go ahead and take this and start taking this over to the house and set that up for an alignment. And now we'll go ahead and start dimensioning. So I'll grab my annotation tab, my line dimension tool, and I'm going to go ahead and select from the back of the house forward, and grabbing all my sheeting, go ahead and drop that, hit escape twice, then I select the wall, and I can now change the dimension to be 25 feet. Do the same thing for the wall on the outside here. Zoom in, I'm going to grab the sheeting layer, slide over, grab the sheeting layer of the house, pull out and come down, drop this, select the wall, and go ahead and type in, I believe it's 30 feet, 1/2 inch, and that pushes the wall out. So the next thing I'm going to start to do is now I got to start looking at putting a foundation underneath of this wall. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab the bottom of garage foundation level, because that's a level I'm going to want to draw on. And you can see I don't see anything here for the walls I just drew. So I'm going to come over here to my view range, and now I'm going to start moving my view range up because I can't see anything. So I'll go ahead and move this offset up like say 15 feet to the top. It should be plenty. And I'm going to go ahead and move this up say 10 feet and then hit apply. And by doing that, I can now see walls for my garage. So I'll hit OK and go to architecture, grab my wall tool. Now I got to make a foundation wall. So I'm going to hit edit type for the basic 2x6. I'm going to duplicate and I'm going to call this garage foundation. Okay, that'll be my garage foundation wall. Now I'm going to get it in edit. I do not need to have siding on this foundation wall, so I can delete it. I'm going to pull into here, and instead of sheeting, I'm going to use CMU for this foundation wall. Drop that in. And the cinder blocks that I'm going to use here are going to be 12 inches thick. And then I'm also going to put insulation on the inside of this particular, on the inside, I'm going to use rigid foam board insulation, and that has 2 inches of thickness, and we'll also change this from structure to an air thermal barrier. So with that set up, we're good with our foundation wall. I can come over and say that now my core face exterior is still set up. Base constraint will be BO garage foundation. Top constraint will be TO foundation. So that's all set. So now I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to select the outside of my garage walls, and I'm going to work my way around here, just tracing on the outside of my foundation wall. Now, this is where I do not have a foundation wall on the house, so I don't really have an attachment point necessarily at this point. So I'm just going to let that run short so I can see where that's going to come, and I know I'm going to have to attach that to my foundation wall. Obviously, I'm not running a foundation wall for the garage where the house is going to be, because there will be a foundation wall there for the house itself. So with that set up and that's in place here, what I'm going to do now is continue to look at how do we then fill in the rest of the space here. The way that the garage is built is that the concrete is going to sit on a ledge. It's actually going to sit on top of this cinder block. And if I go back into the drawing itself, slide down to the section views, we can then zoom in on this section view here. Well, let's do it over here. We'll zoom in on the section view here to see exactly what's happening on that garage wall. Here you can see this is the cinder block. These are the 12-inch cinder blocks, and that's running up, and then the concrete is actually sitting on top of that ledge. Here we're going to put a 6-inch solid cinder block. So that's what we need to go ahead and build in next, is this 6-inch CMU, and then of course the board insulation on the inside. So what we'll go ahead and do is go back here to Revit. And we'll go back to, well, let's take a look here. We're going to go into my elevation. Probably best to start working on this TO foundation layer now. So we'll go to that TO foundation layer. And from this point, I'll grab a wall. And that basic garage wall is set up. So I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to duplicate. And this time, it's going to be basic garage wall. And I'm going to call this thing 6-inch cap, because this is going to be the top cap for that wall. Hit OK. Pull into here. And instead of this being a 1-foot thick masonry unit, this will be a 6-inch thick concrete block or cinder block. So with that set up, the wall is selected. We're going to start working on the TO foundation as my base constraint. And at this point, it's going to head up to the TO first floor. That's actually going to be too high. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's just make this unconnected. And the unconnected height that I want to put in here is going to be 8 inches. Cinder blocks are generally 8 by 16 by whatever width is generated by necessary, and that's what we're looking at is a 6-inch. So with that set up, my core face exterior is still set. So I'm going to go ahead now and again trace that wall, which I'm basically tracing the 2x6 wall at this point, and I should be drawing directly on top of my 12-inch cinder block wall. So I hit escape. And now we'll go into my 3D view and take a look. And what I can see here is I've definitely drawn on top. I've made myself a ledge. You can see that ledge right there. And that's where the concrete is going to sit, is on top of that ledge. That being set up, now I can start looking at, well, why don't we get our floor put into position. Before I do that, I just really want to set up a section view so I can see exactly what's happening on inside this wall. And I'm going to pull that back so I don't get any interference with the rest of the house here. And let's go take a look at that section view. So this is what I'm going to see. This is my section, and let's detail this. In that section, there's my insulation on the inside. That's my 6-inch cap. This wall is actually going to come down and sit on top of that cap, but let's go ahead and get that floor installed next. So we'll end up working with the TO foundation layer. So I'm going to go to that TO foundation layer. And we'll have to then start seeing, well, this is my 6-inch cap that I just highlighted. So we're going to run right to the edge of that 6-inch cap and over to the wall of the house with our floor. So we'll go back to the architecture tab. We're going to go to the floor tool. Right now I have a 4-inch concrete slab loaded in here, so I can actually look at that and hit edit type. I can go ahead and duplicate, and this is going to be 4-inch concrete slab, and then I'll put in here 2-inch rigid. Actually, not, this is called 2-inch insulation, so it's not as long. And then we'll go ahead and grab a structure here, and we're going to go ahead and insert an object that's going to go underneath of, so we'll move it down, and we go back into our drawing here, and we're going to go keep doing that. Go ahead and grab that rigid insulation, and we're going to stick this as a 2-inch rigid insulation under the slab. With that set up, I can go ahead and hit OK, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw a rectangle from one side all the way to the other, and I'm actually going to go to the house on this one and then hit OK. Now what's going to happen is it say, would you like walls to go up to the floor level to attach? I always say no. What that always ends up doing is causing me issues and problems when I need to move and adjust things. So what's happened here is, given that my foundation layer is running across here, my floor was placed above it. What I need to do here is move this up 2 more inches so that the insulation sits on that layer. So right now my height offset from level is 4 inches. That's the actual thickness of the concrete. I'm going to go back into here and then make this 4. I'm going to make this 6 inches as a height offset. And you can see now that it is offsetting itself up higher. Okay. The other thing I notice is that my floor is running into my insulation. Well, something's not right. Looks like I probably drew to the wall here, not necessarily the wall of my block. So I got to take care of that. Over here, we're looking like we're in good shape. The insulation would run over, and this would all be insulated with the concrete on the inside. So I'm going to fix this. I'm going to select my floor, hit edit boundary. It's asking what view do you want to do this in. So I'm going to tell it TO foundation. It opens the view for me. And then my issue's over here. Well, there it is. So I'll just take that purple line and drag it to the inside and hit the green check. Say no, and just close the view. It should take me back to the view. Yep, there we go. Now it's all connected up and looking fine. So what we're looking to do next here is we now need to take this wall and actually bring it down so it actually sits on this particular concrete piece. By doing that, probably one of the easiest ways to do it is to right-click to select all instances, and that's going to grab both of these particular instances here in the view, or you can select one and hold down Control and select the other. And then I'm just going to tell it to offset down. So I'm going to look at the base offset, and I'm going to offset -4 inches, and it looks like we're getting closer here. Let's now take it down to -5 inches. A little closer here. Why don't we just get a true measurement by annotation and align and see what we got? We have 5.5. Looks like we got to do it 1/2 inch more. So we'll grab both of those and we're going to drop this down -5.5 inches. So now what's happening is that wall is sitting directly on top of that cinder block cap. And the only other thing here we have an issue with is the alignment. Now we align this to the outside of this wall. This wall is in the correct position. But in order to keep this sheeting from rotting, we're going to need to move this block and now, of course, this block in to underneath of the sheeting. So I'm going to grab the block, I'm going to grab that cinder block, grab my move tool, and I should be able to take from the outside and move it to the inside. What that's done is now the sheeting sits outside of the block and will actually run over with probably a termite barrier and run down through here. This is sort of a 2 ways that I've seen this done, is either set this up this way, or it could be set up so the sheeting runs directly over top, but that the siding overhangs so the drip drops off. Either way I think would be acceptable. I'm going to go ahead and set it this way, noting that we're going to have a termite cap on the wall that would then be a barrier between the cinder block moisture and then the sheeting itself. So that's set up. That takes care of how to add the 6-inch block, the foundation underneath of it, the only thing would be a footer. So we can start looking at a footer and aprons and garage next.